Okay, so this is one of my latest experiments here. This is a Eshopps s-120 skimmer, 4th generation, latest one. I modified it a while ago with a switch in the top, although I might not really need that anymore because, well, I upgraded this with a new skimmer pump. It's a dca1200. I wish I could say this was my first attempt. So you can see it comes in 1200, 2000, and it also actually comes in a 1500. So I originally tried the 1500, and you can see it actually comes in a 2500 as well. This, even though it looks very similar, was way, way, way too powerful. I don't know why the difference was so big. It looks almost exactly the same, but for whatever reason, it's too big. So if you try this, skip this one. I'm going to try to use this on a return pump on a Nano. I need to get the right impeller first. Anyway, so let's show you how this works. Turn off feed mode. And it does a slow ramp up because it's a DC pump, and, well, why not? And there it goes. So you can see it has it looks like 3 different feed modes on there. I'm trying to zoom in there. 10, 30, and 50 minute. If you look on the side, it has on the bottom is for the float switch, so that's what I was getting at a minute ago. I probably don't need that float switch I put on there anymore because it gives you this. So this just, I could basically install that the same way, and it looks like it's almost the right level too. What the heck, right? It's like, why did I do all this effort? It's like they almost knew what I was trying to do. So you can see I'd install that like right in there. And yeah, that almost does look like it's perfect. That's too funny. So I might even replace that one with this one so it can plug right into here. But I actually have Y adapters for this, so I can still also plug into my Apex, tell my Apex it's filled, and then I can shut it off this way directly instead of having to use the Apex to shut off the actual pump, which is kind of cool. On top of that, speaking of Apex, look what's on the top here. Yeah, if you guessed it, that's for Apex control of the speed. Yeah, I can Apex control the speed of this freaking skimmer, thanks to this pump. Now, you could just buy a coralbox, was it S1, or not S120, a coralbox, I think it's the 300. I don't remember if I think it's D300 plus, and I think that comes with this exact pump, and it almost looks like an S120 with this pump, but, I don't want to drop something $200 close. It's almost like buying this skimmer again. So, $60 with this pump. If you already have this line of skimmer, there you go. And I don't have it on max. I can definitely put it on max. I had it overflowing a minute ago. I still have to tune it all, but you can dial this back, whatever you gotta do. So yeah, that's how you upgrade these. Let me just show you the original pump that we started with. This was a sicce SE200. There's also an SK200. As far as I know, the difference is just the color. The SE is white, and the SK is like the sicce, like brown, gray, whatever. For the Jabal pump, let me just give you a size comparison and just show you some details here of how and why this works. So you can see they're about the same size. The difference being, I guess I have to take this off. The difference basically being the fact that one is male and one is female. So if you look at this guy and you look at this guy, so this goes with the male here, and so this goes with the female. So if you buy this as the skimmer kit, then you get the skimmer impeller, and I can show you that too. Pop that off, and so yeah, you get the needle wheel. And it's basically just a little Jabal pump with a needle wheel. I mean, you can see. That's really all it is. And then, what else? Let me pop that back in. So yeah, you got male versus female. What else? Oh, it just so happens the threads on the top are the same. So lucky that the original bubble plate thing, just screws from this one right onto this one. Once you, I just put this on here because I might use this as a return pump, but you can see boom. Well, of course my O-ring falls out. At least I noticed. So yeah, there be it. That's how you do a skimmer pump upgrade. This is definitely not for the faint of heart, and if you're starting this without knowing what size to use, then you'll probably screw up like I did, unless you just, go with your gut. I mean, in my case, I thought, oh, well, surely if it's a little too big, I can just dial it down, but for some reason, this 1500 is significantly more powerful than the 1200. I don't know if it's just overrated, underrated, you tell me. I guess, but that's how it is. So yeah, once these are actually all together and the volutes are actually on it, you can see the length is, pretty comparable. In fact, I think the Jabal is actually smaller. If you look just in terms of the width and overall kind of dimensions, it's possibly a little smaller. This does have the output is centered, and on the Jabal it's on the sort of the side, so when I put the thing back on, I sort of have it twisted a little bit, but no big deal really. Likewise with this thing, it actually pushes on a little farther on the volute on this pump. It's a slightly different volute on this. Really minor differences, but it almost makes me wonder if it's a different generation of Jabal pump. Not that they aren't known for doing that, but these actually are coralbox branded. So if you look, see, it's coralbox on there. It's not Jabal, but it is clearly a Jabal pump, and anyone who knows knows that coralbox is basically Jabal's high-end line. So higher end line. I like to say it's like Toyota versus Lexus. So yeah, this is working pretty damn good. You can see the bubbles are starting to get to the neck now, about where you'd, maybe let them get a little higher is where you'd expect the running level to be, but then again, who knows? It's a brand new setup. And let's see how the tank is doing. No, the tank is doing just fine. Nothing too much going on with it. I need to probably kill some aptasia, do some of the typical routine maintenance kind of things, but nothing that you wouldn't expect. And it's almost feeding time. I'm sure these guys are hungry. And so yeah, I was considering getting a custom skimmer made, but depending on how well this works, I think I might just stick with this. This is almost my version of a custom skimmer, a custom modified skimmer. Only other modification I really had to do just before we end the video here is this base plate. Normally there's like a little lip on both ends, and I cut the one end off so that is now like where the pump almost bottoms out, and then I kind of bent it down a little bit just to add some friction. And essentially I then also sanded this plate to be thinner because it held the pump up a little too high, so I almost sanded this all the way down to like there, if you can see, like right there. So it's almost got all this base removed, all this material in here removed off. I use like a belt sander. That's probably not for the faint of heart, and you can even have some injuries to show for it, but let's not do that when you try this mod yourself. Ideally, if you had a 3D printer, you would remove that blue piece with the screws and 3D print your, a replacement version of this that just screws right in there. So that's my, in an ideal world, that's what you do. My friend keeps telling me to buy a 3D printer. If you think I should buy a 3D printer, tell me buy a 3D printer. No, I don't really need that, guys. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that is how you put a DC pump on a Jabal skimmer. So yeah, you're going from this basically to something like this, give or take. So yeah, these are cool little pumps. They do make these in return pumps as well. I should note that the 1500, the controller on it is kind of weird. It's like as if they wanted you to use this on a skimmer, and it's odd because that's not even the one that actually comes with the skimmer. They give you this one, which is the one that has the apex and all that. Now it is of note that this one does not have the apex support, nor does it have the float switch support, so that didn't actually come with float switch. So it's kind of odd. I don't know that I would recommend getting this model unless you knew you wanted this size. It does seem very powerful, but other than that, it's sort of oddball on the features. I do wonder if it's maybe a newer generation or something. I'm kind of curious to read read some of that labeling on the back and sort of see what I can make out. Can I get the focus? Probably not. Maybe. So yeah, interesting. I think it actually says it's 20 watts, which is actually what it says the 2,000 liter pump is. So that actually says it's 20 watts, whereas the smaller one says it's 12 watts. This one says it's 12 watts. So it's interesting that this says it uses the same amount of watts as the bigger one. I almost wonder if this is just like the bigger one and they just underrated it and maybe even shrunk it, because it is actually the same size. I think the 2000 is a little bit bigger. I think it's a little longer. So I do wonder if maybe they somehow managed to make this pump more powerful and almost got it to the point that it's close to the 2000. So who knows? Something. Cool. So yeah, that's how you do it. Eshopps skimmer DC pump upgrade. You'd almost hope that someday they make this themselves. I am slowly starting to not like these sicce pumps. I don't know if I told you the background history on this. I had issues with these changing in performance depending on the power. So my air conditioner would turn on or something like that, and the skimmer level would literally drop like a half inch to an inch. I can't make this shit up. I ended up buying a fancy ass UPS, which is in this closet, although you can't see it. It's buried behind the top off bucket and stuff. But in either case, that UPS is a double online or double conversion UPS. They also call it an online UPS. I'm sort of saying them both at the same time. They always run the inverter, so they always output the same voltage all the time. That did help the problem, but ultimately I just was fed up with this thing. So there you have it. It now has a DC pump like I wish it had to begin with. For a $300-something skimmer, you really kind of hope they would have. But that said, it's a very short skimmer. The profile is very small on these things. Mind you, the coralbox 300 is kind of, seems to me to be where it's at. If I was doing this today, I'd just buy that to begin with, right? But if you want to turn your S-120 into a coralbox 300, which actually I think costs $50 less to begin with, then yes, do what I did. Or take the easy road and buy the right one to begin with, right? I don't even know if it was out when I bought this thing, but who knows. In either case, guys, till next time, skimmer pump upgrade.